Hills police received numerous calls about a possible drunken driver this weekend, finding Hollywood heartthrob John Stamos, aka Uncle Jesse, driving under the influence.
In terms of their business,
vodka.
Yeah.
And you know why? You know why he did that?
Why?
Because he has a small.
Oh, that's actually the reason.
Yeah.
You obviously don't take criticism well.
I do. I believe me. I make fun of myself more than anything, but.
John Stamos is one of the most charming actors in Hollywood. For years, he has won over the public's hearts through television, but behind the scenes, he has some skeletons in his closet. And it turns out he might just be another monster like the rest of the industry. So let's get into it. People love John Stamos, and that's because he plays a lovable character on the show Full House, and he seems like a charming guy. But I did some digging, and I found a story about John Stamos, which is alleged because it's been wiped from the internet, but we need to talk about this. It's incredibly disturbing, and you may look at him differently now. Before his big acting career, he was in a band, and he was touring with that band, and that's where he found himself in some trouble. So our story takes place in Finland because he was on tour there, and what he did to this woman is absolutely evil. So he was doing an interview with Jane magazine when he was asked, "What's the worst you ever screwed someone over?" He answered, "In the mid-80s, I was in a band. I was playing somewhere in Finland, and there was a girl hanging around who was really drunk and interested in me. I wasn't into her, but my friend was." So John didn't say where they were. I'm assuming they were at a bar or some type of concert venue. There's this girl who's really drunk and flirting with him, and she clearly wants to get with him specifically. He goes on to share, "So the girl came back to my hotel, and I turned the lights down, and we started making out. I said, 'Hold on a second, I gotta go brush my teeth.' It was dark. I left the room and I sent my friend, who looked like me, and she thought she was having, sex with John, but really she was hooking up with his friend." Now, this is a really sick story and something odd to admit to. Like, I feel like you would keep this situation personal because this woman thought she was hooking up with you, but then you had your friend go and essentially R-word her. I also found another quote where he admitted that he was young at the time, okay, and he didn't have a conscience, so he just did not care what this girl was thinking, how she would have felt. He just, felt like he ruled the world. People on Twitter are disgusted. Someone wrote, "Wow, he openly admitted to R-wording someone." Another person writes, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." And I don't know if you guys realize how serious these allegations are, because there are cases from as early as 1884 where they have found situations like these as illegal. Like, this is considered, RAP, you know what I'm trying to say. And that's because this woman did not consent to hooking up with his friend, and he just kind of snuck out and let his friend take over. This entire situation just challenges the essence of consent. This woman clearly did not consent to being with that man, yet John set her up for that, and I really think that the man and John are to blame. Even though John has been great at covering his tracks, he hasn't been perfect, and there are some controversies that he just can't avoid.
Hills police received numerous calls about a possible drunken driver this weekend, finding Hollywood heartthrob John Stamos, aka Uncle Jesse, driving under the influence.
In 2015, John found himself in trouble with a DUI. Citizens observed John acting erratically while in Beverly Hills and proceeded to contact the police. He was later taken to the hospital to undergo a series of tests, and they confirmed that he was using a substance called GHB. Okay, so I've definitely heard of this before. It's I've seen people actually at Coachella using it. It's like a clear liquid. I think that you just ingest in your mouth, or oh no. Okay, so I don't know why he would be taking this, but yeah, it makes you drunk, but you aren't even drunk, and I don't think you could really drink with this either. So obviously a DUI on this mystery drug is not a good look. The shamed star was arrested and sentenced to 3 years of probation. He was also admitted to rehab for 30 days, describing the experience as some of the most difficult days of his life. And he was 52 at the time of this arrest, so I feel like at this point, like, he should probably know better. But he's been problematic for a very long time. I mean, you guys may know his best buddy, Bob Saget, acted quite inappropriately, especially on set of Full House. And I found this report from back in 1992, where John, Bob, and Dave were all under fire for using vulgar language and talking about in front of young stars of the show. They were rumored to also have a stash of Playboy magazines on set. Like, for what reason? You're like on set of a family kid show. I mean, we weren't on the set of Full House, so we can't confirm that. And there are some instances where people try to, tarnish stars who are perfectly normal people. But I also believe the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, applies to almost everything. And this situation is pretty sticky, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it because this woman named Allison Koss says that she slept with John Stamos when she was 17. John's lawyer denies everything, and the situation got really intense because at some point, I guess Allison and maybe her boyfriend or her partner named Scott were trying to extort John for $680,000, claiming that they had photos of him with and with strippers. The lawyer does admit that there was some intimate moments between these two when John was 40. Supposedly they were in Florida, of course, Florida, at an Orlando bar, and he invited her friends to his hotel room, and they were all like teenagers, so they did have alcohol, which is illegal. But then Allison goes on to say that there were drugs and there were strippers, and that's something that John denies ever happening. Allison's lawyer also says that she maintained a flirty relationship with John through email for years, which if that was true, then they would have like a paper trail of this. When you expose celebrities for these awful things, you have to go and defend yourself. And a lot of times people can't afford to do this. So these people, I mean, Allison may have been lying, but they weren't going to succeed against John and his team. Actually, Allison and her partner Scott were found guilty trying to extort him. This case actually went to trial, and there was a jury that heard out both sides, and they decided to go with John. FBI agents testified that they searched the couple's home and failed to turn up any of the evidence or these embarrassing photos that Allison claims that she had. So it sounds like John was pretty much set up in this situation, but who really knows? I also don't understand how these people could just go and make these things up. I mean, especially when they're going to be investigated for them. Another story I came across online about John actually involved him being, I guess, inappropriate to a Disney tour guide. This story is coming from an account owned by someone named Jenny Nicholson. Now, I don't know where she got this story from. I wasn't able to find supporting evidence, but she claims that she has issues watching anything involving John because this man loves Disneyland, and it's staggering how many female cast members have a John Stamos story. She writes, "It's an extremely open secret to the point where they make overt efforts not to pair him with female VIP hosts despite the department being mostly female." She writes, "I can't imagine why any tour guide in a position to excitedly tell coworkers that she was the guide of someone famous, good looking, and well liked would instead choose to say he touched her, tried to pressure her to go to his hotel room, and she was afraid of him." This person writes, "I heard multiple first-hand stories. It happened to one of my trainers when she was new because he, quote, I guess, does it to the young girls. I can't imagine anyone will come forward because you're not supposed to speak ill of your guests or even say which celebrity you're with." So it sounds like she works maybe at the Disneyland or is at least like involved with the tour guides, and John likes to go there, and I guess he likes to prey on the young, tour guides and tries to get them to go back to his hotel room. And as I started doing some research on this man, I came to the conclusion that he does have an issue with alcohol, and it seems like he's had issues with, alcohol and drugs for a very long time, which is unfortunate because so many people in Hollywood just get wrapped up in this toxic cycle. In 2007, John was on an Australian talk show where he was clearly drunk, and it was pretty embarrassing to watch because he was acting defensive. The media was talking poorly about him, and then he went on there to pretty much argue with the media while he was under the influence.
In terms of their business
Vodka!
Yeah,
took a shot at me at the papers today at being tired, you know. And you know why? You know why he did that?
Why?
Because he has a small penis.
Oh, well, now you know. Now you know. That's actually the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you obviously don't take criticism well?
I do. I believe me, I make fun of myself more than anything, but
it's just hard to watch, and you would hope that these people would have someone in their lives to, like, you know, slap them out of it, or to be a supportive figure to help them get clean and be sober. But I also just think he's a weird dude. I mean, there are some things that he has shared that are just like gross. Like back in 2015, he was talking a little bit about his like intimacy life. Like in one story, he decided to share that he was hooking up with a girl at some point, and I guess he decided he wanted to take a bunch of showers before to make sure he's super clean. That actually seems like a theme here. He like likes to brush his teeth and take a shower before he hooks up, which you know, I think people would appreciate that, as long as you don't go and, you know, swap out your friend for yourself. But he talks about like doing oral with a girl, and he goes on to share that he felt something weird down there. This is so weird. Why am I even talking about this? I'm like, ew, gross. But he explained that he had like gum in his mouth, and he like, I guess, was licking it, and I don't know, it got inside of like whoever he was hooking up with. I just feel like I always thought like of John as like a gentleman, so then hearing him like talk about these like encounters and stuff, I'm just like, oh god, like he seems like a sleaze. It also seems like he likes to brag about the women he's hooked up with. Like, for example, he was quoted saying that a bunch of women wanted to ask for selfies after they had hooked up, and that some women actually even asked for a pair of his clothing, or like, you know, his shirt as a souvenir. So it's like, you know, special to hook up with John. These women want to get selfies with him. They want to take his dirty clothes so they can say that they have slept with him, which I feel like, you know, probably really boosts his ego. And also, like, I feel like when you are like that, like, does intimacy even mean anything to you anymore? Is it just like all transactional? I think he's too far gone, but I found a blind item from 2011, and once upon a time, John was married to a woman named Rebecca. They're now split up, but I guess he had a little, you know, issue with her because he ended up getting wrapped up with a model named Carmen Electra. So let's go ahead and break this down. When this couple was married, he was an almost A-list television actor who was just ending a really long run on a hit show. She was a B-list actress who was more famous for her face than her acting. Anyway, even though reports have always suggested they've had an open marriage, John and Rebecca, the wife did take exception to her husband having, you know what, and a closet at an MTV party with this gorgeous C-list television and movie actress who's been with the oddest assortment of men ever. Shortly after the incident, the couple filed for divorce. So it sounds like they'd had an open relationship, but he kind of like violated their rules or overstepped his boundaries, and that kind of led to their divorce. So sounds like he's got issues with like maybe like infidelity and just like substance. Nothing beats that story about his friend and him swapping out. That is nasty. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Here's my email if you have any other video ideas for me, and I'll see you guys in a new one soon. Bye guys.